welcome to Never Seen It. This is a podcast about movies that we haven't seen yet. I'll be your host today. My name is Betsy, and I'm here with Trent.
Hello, everybody.
Trent, I don't know if you know this, but it's December already.
How the hell did this happen?
I don't know. I hate everything about that. But usually when we started the podcast, we would spend the month of December watching Christmas movies. We're kind of Christmased out. So we're just going to keep on doing what we've been doing for the last month. And we are both catching up on movies from 2025 and also getting a potential jump start on the Oscar movies coming up at the beginning of 2026. And today is one of those movies because we are watching Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Trent, you and I have only actually watched one Guillermo del Toro movie on this podcast, and it was the last time we were talking about him in the Oscar season for Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, and that was a movie on everybody's list at the way, way bottom for that Oscar season, and it was at the top for us. We absolutely love that movie.
It was one of those movies that we just sort of forgot. It came out. It didn't really make an impact. It disappeared.
Yeah.
And then it got nominated for Best Picture, and we were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I thought that movie kind of came and went. It is a Del Toro, and Oscar voters tend to like him.
They do love them some Guillermo.
Yeah, so we were very surprised when everybody's like top 10 list came out that year, and Nightmare Alley was near the bottom of everybody's. Like, what the fuck, man?
But I think because we had such low expectations and no idea what that movie was, we were able to really, really enjoy it.
And just as a history of Guillermo movies, just between us, not on the podcast, obviously we watched The Shape of Water when that movie came out and won Best Picture. That was back before we had a podcast. And the only other movie that I have seen is the second Blade movie, which Betsy and I were just talking about this morning.
Of course, because, you know, Guillermo del Toro does have a career outside of making his own weird movies by making other people's weird movies.
Very much so. And that was around the time that he got the opportunity to make that first Hellboy movie that a whole lot of people really liked. And he began to have this reputation in Hollywood that, you know what? Guillermo del Toro might be a really weird guy, but he makes fucking awesome movies.
He is one who leans into the eccentric part of his life, and he carries that into his movies. So when Frankenstein came out, not that long ago, because we're watching this pretty soon after release date, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I don't know. Like, it's like technically very good because he's very much about practical effects, but they're saying it's maybe not their most favorite Guillermo movie. But I've not really been listening to any of that because of our aforementioned conversation about Nightmare Alley.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of said the same thing about that. It ended up being our favorite one. So I'm kind of a little more positive about the idea of watching Frankenstein.
Now, what you were saying there about people being very kind of mid about this movie, that was when it was being screened kind of early in the process.
The preliminary accounts of it.
Yeah, so since then, a whole lot of people have been able to watch it, and the overall opinion is very, very high. I think the score on Rotten Tomatoes started out in the high 70s. I think it's like way up in the upper 80s now. Yeah, Betsy, I mean, other than, hey, it's fucking Frankenstein, it's another retelling of the original story. I know that the unique thing about this story is that it is based on the original text.
He's going to the source material for this, which many people haven't read. Now, have you read Frankenstein?
No.
I read it when I was in high school, so I don't really have a recollection of like how true this is going to be. Like, I'm not going to look at it and go, oh, that's directly from the book. But I have read the book.
Okay.
But yeah, I think most people's idea of Frankenstein is like the universal monsters or some other interpretation of it, which is why people were weird about it, because they're not going back to the source material like he did.
And honestly, my own history with the Frankenstein property, let's say, are two movies that are not really about Frankenstein. One of them is Van Helsing, and the other one being Young Frankenstein.
Which, as I understand, is actually pretty faithful to the story as far as like the beats go. So I don't think it's as far from the original source as you might expect.
Fine, but that's not what this movie is going to be. Now, as far as who's in it, I know one person, and that is Oscar Isaac. And yet again, here's another example of a guy that is pretty prolific in Hollywood right now, but we've only ever covered 2 movies where he appeared and he's not even the star. He was in the Spider-Verse sequel, and he had a very small part in the movie Drive that we covered in the first year of the podcast.
But we've not done anything where he is a main player.
No. And I was just kind of thinking about this before we hit record tonight. I don't know if I've ever seen Oscar Isaac in a movie where he is really showing me his stuff. Where, goddammit, I'm an actor and I'm showing you what I can do.
There's definitely some movies in his filmography that we are gonna cover at some point because he doesn't always get to be the star, but when he is, he really, really is good.
I understand he's really good in that TV shows like Scenes from a Marriage. Is that the show?
I don't know what that show is called, but I know of which you speak.
Him and Jessica Chastain, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I understand he's really, really good in that because, hey, he can really show his acting muscles. And I'm very, very excited to see him kind of show me his stuff.
And then, of course, the other person who is in this movie is Jacob Elordi. So this is someone you definitely have not seen.
He plays the monster.
But he is the monster, yes.
Okay.
He's like 6'5". He's gorgeous. He's going to be in the new Wuthering Heights movie. He's another one who's kind of having a moment right now. The only other person off the top of my head is Mia Goth. Mia Goth is another one of those people that you and I definitely know who she is, but haven't spent a lot of time watching her movies.
I've never seen her in anything.
So it's not like he's picking unknown people to star in his movie. I know all of these people, but they're kind of people I just don't watch on screen very often.
Mia Goth is a person that I think Guillermo would have recognized from that trilogy of movies that I would say he's a lot more into personally.
Like Pearl and X and those.
That trilogy. I know she is the big star in those. But do you know anybody else? I didn't know about Mia Goth.
I think Christoph Waltz might be in this movie, Trent.
Ooh,
I'm not
100%.
He's also not in the trailer, so that's why I forget about him. But I'm almost positive he is also in this movie.
Well, I guess you just perked my interest even more, Betsy.
Well, good, because it's time to go and watch the movie. So we're going to go and watch Frankenstein, and then we will be right back. And we're back. That was Guillermo del Toro's interpretation of Frankenstein. Trent, I get a sense from having watched the movie with you how you felt about it, but why don't you tell our listeners?
Betsy, I am utterly, utterly dumbfounded at the beauty of this dark and twisted tale. That is the thing I wrote down about my reaction to this fucking movie. Holy fucking shit, man. This was amazing.
Every second of that movie is fucking fantastic. Guillermo del Toro, I knew he'd come through. I just knew. I was not about to let the people saying, oh, maybe Frankenstein's not that good. Fuck you guys.
Fuck that. Fuck that.
This movie is amazing. And
this might be his goddamn masterpiece.
You think so?
I think so. And I love that other movie we mentioned. I can't even think of the name of it right now.
Nightmare Alley who?
No, it's a Nightmare Alley.
We're talking about Frankenstein.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Now, not having seen a lot of his other movies, that's a big statement. But you know what? I have seen a few of his movies, and I'm not going to completely disagree with you. Wow. Okay. I love when we do podcasts and I watch a movie and then I'm like, words are hard because that's the hard part about podcasting. You need the words.
I have to use my words in order to express how I'm feeling right now. And these are the words that are coming out.
Mostly it's holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
With a capital F, like, holy fuck. This movie is, it's so good. This is so good.
Betsy, I am not one to just sit down and watch a 2.5 hour plus movie or however long this is, but I could absolutely see myself watching this over and over again.
Just turn right around.
If nothing else, to just listen to the dialogue. So many times in this entire movie, I found myself thinking, am I watching like a Shakespearean play with all of the prose and all of the poetry in the language here? And I fully expect that a lot of the language is coming directly out of the book, but I don't care. I absolutely love really, really flowery language coming out of the mouths of people that you do not expect it to come out of.
And of course, the main person being the creature, the unnamed being that he creates and just discards completely. And you believe when he shows up in the first scene, they set him up. He's a monster. You know, he shows up screaming and howling and terrifying these people. Give me my creator. Give him to me. He's killing people left and right. When they reveal that Victor has a prosthetic leg, the first thing you assume is, well, something's going to happen to him. That creature is going to like rip his fucking leg off or something. That's where your brain immediately goes at the beginning of the movie. But of course, the whole thing is he is the most gentle, beautiful, flawless soul. And his creator just fucks off and leaves him. And if you know anything about Frankenstein, the book, you knew this is how this was going to go, because the thing people always talk about is who is the monster and who is the man. And this is sort of the origination of that idea.
Yeah. It's where all of these other, like the fucking Jekyll and Hyde, and I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head right now, but it is that idea. Who's really the monster here? Is it the creation or is it the creator?
Because the creation didn't ask to be created, but here he is. So fucking deal with it, you bastard.
And you as a viewer of this movie, you see the infancy, quite literally the infancy of this creature. It is learning everything. It has to learn everything because what he is based on is humanity, and humanity is inherently curious. It's basically the reason why we've survived as long as we have as a species. But you see the progression, and kind of everything is internal at the beginning. It's not until he meets this fair lady that he kind of decides all on his own. There is something more here, and the only other person that I've been around, I'm deciding is bad. I don't like him anymore, and I need to get out of here because he's trying to kill me. And something, I guess, just awakens in him that there is something out there. There is something beautiful about being alive.
But of course, we would have gotten there if Victor Frankenstein wasn't just full of hubris and an impatient fuck. He just needs it to happen now. He doesn't have the patience to be a father, which is why the man doesn't have any children of his own. He has dedicated his life to the science. But then he even says in the movie, I didn't really think about what would happen after if I actually did it.
Quote, I never considered what would come after creation. Now, you could extrapolate that into a whole lot of different, religious connotations.
An existential question.
Yeah, because in this case, he is a creator. He is his God.
He's playing God, yes.
Yes. And the fact that the creature reads the Bible later in the movie is a strange coincidence, of course, but it's not really. But yeah, it is this, again, the words are not coming to me right now, but it is this weird analogy of Victor Frankenstein creating this creature and then just, oh, you were my one experiment that went wrong. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. It's the question that a whole lot of religious people ask on occasion. Is my God dead? Does my God care about me? Does my God even exist?
And when you specifically are asking your God to do something for you and he tells you to fuck off, you can react appropriately.
And in reality, when he learns the story about Adam and Eve being created in the Garden of Eden, he decides, you know what? That sounds awesome. How about you create me an Eve?
If I'm gonna have to be alone as this, if I can't die, if I just have to keep existing, help a brother out. You created me. You could at least, if you're not going to take care of me, make sure I'm not alone in the world.
Quote, again, I cannot die, yet I cannot live alone. Again, the fucking poetry that is coming out of this creature and from this movie. I just cannot handle it.
Yeah, structurally, this is such a well-made movie, Trent. The script is really elegant the way you're describing it. Like, that is definitely the vibe of the movie. It is gorgeous. This movie,
Oh my God.
to look at, every frame is exquisite because Guillermo del Toro doesn't pull punches. If he wants it to be, ethereal, that's what we're leaning into. If he wants it to be gothic, we're going to go gothic. If he wants to be in nature, we're going to nature. But the whole movie is natural lighting, fire and flame and sunrises and sunsets and snow. And you could tell there's parts of it that they did on a green screen, but so much of it feels very, very real. Like, I'm in
Just
the fucking
natural.
Arctic Circle and he is standing there watching the sunrise. Oh, wow.
Show me
Wow.
another movie that is more beautiful in every aspect. Every single scene, every single setting here is meticulously crafted. We talked about it before when we did Nightmare Alley, and we heard all of the different stories about the production design of that movie and just how much detail that Guillermo del Toro wants to have in every single frame of the movie.
He is a guy that doesn't want to half-ass it. He's also one of those fuck AI directors.
Oh, yeah. This few lines that Guillermo del Toro says in some kind of interview kind of says it all. He says, I don't want digital. I don't want AI. I don't want simulation. I want old-fashioned craftsmanship, people painting, building, hammering, plastering. Make this shit real.
And most of this movie is that. Like, you can tell his laboratory, that's real. They have these giant pillars full of like green and red lights. They've got Jacob Elordi strapped to a fucking wooden frame as he's being lifted up. That's real. There's a big hole in the floor, Trent.
Yeah.
We built a hole in the floor. They built this entire structure, and then they're just going to tear it down. But for the moment that they were making the film, it was real. It existed. It was tangible. And when he's doing the actual special effects things, it's stuff like, well, the creature threw a guy and he snapped him in half.
Yeah.
Quite literally. That's a thing better done with special effects.
And the little creatures like the mice and to a lesser extent like the deer and I guess all of the wolves are fake. Number one, I don't know whether or not Guillermo del Toro is still a vegetarian, but there's probably something in there about that because just to connect it to a Patreon show we did, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre made Guillermo del Toro a vegetarian after watching it because of all of the content therein. If you don't know what we're talking about, I highly recommend that you go and sign up and listen to that episode. It's one of our best. But I think the message kind of comes through here as well, where the creature, there's no animals that are afraid of this creature because it is not threatening. And the creatures themselves, the animals, haven't seen something like that before. They assume it's just another animal. But then eventually the creature does learn about, for lack of a better word, the food chain, where the wolves go after the sheep. And he says, well, the sheep, what is the actual lesson that he learns here? What does he say?
He says the wolves are just doing it because it's what they do. They don't hate the sheep, but they have to eat. So they're going after it.
The sheep's mere existence is for the sustenance of others. That kind of an idea.
And what he says is, the world will try to kill you. It doesn't hate you. It just is what it is, basically.
Right. And again, he is kind of describing the food chain.
But he also says the world will try to kill you just for being what you are.
That's the line.
That's
what I
he
was
says
looking
at the
for.
end.
Yeah. Because I think there he is describing the sheep. Because the sheep themselves kind of don't, he's been around long enough on that farm, I guess, to observe, okay, what is the point of this sheep? The sheep is just there to be cattle and eaten and sheared and whatnot.
He starts to understand the dynamics of this farm and who these people are and how they live. But he also knows he has to be wary because it's the same group of people that already tried to kill him.
Right.
Like, they didn't even question. That first scene where we're getting his part of the story, he wakes up on the beach. He washes up off of the shore.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what the hell is going on. He's out in the forest and he sees all these deer, and the deer do not react to him. They are not afraid of him. They do not run. They don't even startle and stare at him.
A famously skittish species.
So they're just like eating food out of his hand. But then people come along and their first instinct is shoot the deer, shoot whatever the fuck that is, ask questions later.
Right.
And that's sort of the overall feeling of people in this movie. The only person who doesn't immediately react that way is Elizabeth, because she has this different fundamental way of looking at the world.
Yeah, she is just so fascinated with what we would describe as maybe mundane things like insects, but she finds it just completely fascinating because there is an intricacy there. There is a symmetry. There is a reason for even the most minute thing of an insect, and that is what inspires Victor to do what he does in the movie.
Well, since we're here talking about Elizabeth, they also talk about how she was at a convent, and then she left
was
the
trying
convent.
to become a nun.
She is somebody who is trying to experience God, who is trying to find meaning in the world, who is appreciating life at all levels and sees God in the mundane.
Yeah.
Like she sees an ant, she sees a bug, she sees a butterfly, and she sees God's inner workings.
But she also sees the design of God's work in her eyes when she looks inside of this kind of flayed body on the work table in his office.
She thinks it's beautiful. It's
Right.
disturbing, but it's beautiful because it was made by God, and she can see the details, the care that God put into creation is how she views it.
Right.
So when she sees the creature, she's not afraid of it. She is not confused by it. She immediately walks up to it with the most humility and curiosity and trying to be a mother to this creature in a strange way. You know, she's being open to the experience of, you are something that has never existed, but I see that same thing that I experienced with a butterfly in you.
She also sees the skittishness of the creature. And in this scene where she sees it for the first time, she's all covered up and he can't really see her. So she takes off her veil, her hat, her everything. She completely unveils herself so that the creature can observe her in all of her whatever. Because I feel like she can see that there is something behind the eyes there, where the creature is very curious and wanting to learn. Most likely because she is the same way. She is just fascinated by new things that come across her eyes.
She also is just full of compassion. They demonstrated immediately. The first time she speaks, she talks about the war. She says, you know what? You should really stop being all high and mighty and think about the torture and suffering and the pain that is going on right outside our doors, and you don't give a shit about it.
While you guys are sipping tea and smoking cigars.
Drinking
and
brandy.
Yeah, exactly. While all this horrid shit is going on in the world, you're here talking about this bullshit? Come on.
So, of course, when she sees the creature, she is going to care about what happens to this creature. And she tries to make an effort in a way that Victor is not capable of.
Well, and immediately she doesn't know what the creature is. She goes up to Victor and says, "Is this one of your patients?"
She knows it's a man, though.
Right.
She identifies that as a living creature, a human being. She might not know why he is here or how he came to be.
All she sees is the fact that there is this creature chained up in the fucking basement.
Who's bleeding and
Yeah,
who
it's
hurt you.
Hurt, yeah.
Yeah. And because the only word he can say is Victor, she's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? You have a man chained in your basement. That is fucked up. And his response is, he's dangerous and you shouldn't be around him. How the fuck did you draw that conclusion?
Yeah, he's basically treating the creature like a dumb animal. Like, the creature doesn't obey my orders. He doesn't do the tricks that I try to teach him. So I'm going to chain him in the basement as punishment.
And because I'm a guy who's full of hubris and I'm getting sick of this not going anywhere, I'm getting bored, I'm getting frustrated, I'm angry.
I'm impatient.
And I'm going to take it out on this guy. Because you know what? I don't view him as human because I created him.
And even though at that moment where he says, "I'm going to give you one more chance, say another word other than my name."
Fucking impress me. Let's go.
Yeah, one chance to save yourself. Because the creature doesn't know what he's doing with all of this fucking gasoline, kerosene, whatever he's going to do to blow up this building. He gives him the one chance, and he says Elizabeth. And it stops him in his tracks. but he keeps on with it. He keeps on going through with it. He
Yeah.
could have stopped.
He could
have stopped.
He could have been a man of his word and said, oh shit, wait, maybe this can be salvaged. Maybe we can do
Eureka,
something here.
you know?
Eureka! But no. Instead, he goes to an 11 like Victor Frankenstein is wont to do.
Indeed.
Okay. Whew. We have said many words. We're
finally,
very excited.
finally actually said words there.
We're very excited. But at this point, I think it would be good for us to slow down, take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about Frankenstein. So we'll be right back.
This season, give yourself the gift you've always wanted. It's not a new car, and certainly not diamond jewelry. It's premium podcasts from the industry's leading connoisseurs of conversation. For only $5 a month, you will receive the most privileged access to their entire catalog. Patreon.com/NeverSeenItPod. Only the best for the discerning listener.
So let's talk about the actors in this movie and the different characters, starting with the title of the movie, Frankenstein, specifically Victor. So we've got Oscar Isaac in this role. You were reading that Guillermo del Toro had but one choice to play Victor Frankenstein, and this was it.
Indeed.
How did you feel about him in this role?
Well, another thing that I read about the way Guillermo del Toro really envisioned this role for Oscar Isaac is not as like a scientist or like a really smart guy that you would think, okay, in movies like this, he's the mad scientist with fucking beakers everywhere. No, he wanted Oscar Isaac to play this role as if he was a rock star. Like he is up there performing for you. So think about David Bowie, think about fucking Prince in the way he is moving, the way he is sounding, the way he is just presenting himself.
I was going to say, it's all in the performance. He is a very performative man in the whole movie. Once he decides to kind of stand up to his dad and say, I'm going to fucking wrangle death, I'm going to be in control of this. Then we cut to he's a grown-up and he's giving this presentation and he's got a fucking ball and he's really flowery and loud and showing
cocky.
off. He is a cocky bastard. And then even when he is telling his story, he's just been picked up on a fucking ice cap and he's just like, oh, let me tell you about the thing that I've done, but I must tell you by telling my entire fucking life story. Are you kidding me?
He also says some of this is going to be, I don't know, fiction, but it's all true or whatever the fuck he said.
He says something to the effect of, he might have the facts wrong, but it's true. It's
okay,
all true.
Okay. Even though I might fudge some things here and there.
It's a counterintuitive. Yeah, the thing he says is
I'm making
bullshit.
myself look a whole lot better than what I actually am.
He is telling his version of the story.
Right.
But from the beginning. Like the fact that
Let me
the
go
first...
all the way back to the beginning.
Before I can tell you what we're doing here, I must start from the beginning 40 years ago.
So my mother was pregnant with my brother and so on and so forth.
And then now we're here. An hour and a half into the movie, we get to the point of the story.
Uh-huh.
It's like watching How I Met Your Mother. Let me tell you all the side stories before I finally get to the point.
Right.
There's other things about him, like he's just never at fault. Like they pointed out, Elizabeth points it out to him many times. Oh, were you wrong about something? He never admits he's wrong until the end of the movie when he's actually full of regret and apologizes to his creation. But the rest of the time he's like, I did something bad. It was the creature. The creature did it. Look, he's right there.
Yeah,
he's so bad.
Completely gaslighting everybody around him to blame all of his faults and his mistakes, whatever you want to call them, on this thing that he created himself.
I literally in my notes wrote, the creature attacked her, in parentheses, liar. I wrote the word liar like 4 times as he's just bullshitting his way through life and not accepting responsibility for his own actions. So yeah, he's a cocky bastard. There's that scene where he is following Elizabeth because he's kind of fascinated with her. Mm-hmm. And she goes to a church and he decides to pose as the priest to hear her confession. And she is just like, yeah, I fucking hate that guy. I felt hate in my heart because he's a bastard. And then he quickly figures out, oh, it's because she knows it's me.
Okay. I'm going to say, I really like that scene.
It's a funny
really cute.
scene.
It's very flirty. It's very fun.
But also, he deserves what she is saying about him.
Of course.
Because he's a bastard.
But you know what? She is the only person here who is ever going to throw things back in his face. Because she is very observant about how he is acting, what he is doing, what he's saying.
She identifies him and calls a spade a spade. She knows exactly what he is. And it doesn't help that he's prancing around in this fucking pinstripe suit with a pimp hat. You know,
I said
the height of fashion.
In that same scene there where he is going into that confession booth, I said, look at this suave motherfucker.
And the red leather gloves that he wears half of the movie. This is a man who wants you to notice him.
Yeah.
Even his prosthetic leg is ostentatious. He has a silver foot.
Sure. And I just kind of think all of this is for show, for the performative nature of his character and himself as a man. When we are introduced to him as an adult, I thought to myself, well, this is kind of like Poor Things, where it's a person in the middle of a room. It's a circular room like that, and everybody's kind of looking down. He's teaching people about his methods. He's a doctor. He's a professor, maybe. But slowly it is kind of revealed to the audience that, wait, this is not a lecture. This is not him teaching anybody. This is him defending himself to a tribunal of likely other doctors or professors or people that are in this institution that are trying to kick his ass out.
He's doing fringe science and they think it's against God.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. They're like, no, be gone. We don't want any of that around here.
But he doesn't care. He is so bought in at what he was doing. He's trying to get people on his side by showing everybody his science project.
Look what I can do. I assume that is actually a puppet because Guillermo loves to make things like that. And it looked like it could have been computer generated, but it also looks like, that's the kind of thing Guillermo would be like, give me a puppeteer, make it real. Because it's very effective. It looked really cool.
It really did. But just Oscar Isaac's performance in this scene in particular, I don't know who said it. Maybe you saw the same thing. But I saw somebody kind of reacting to this scene here in that, man, it's hard enough to just learn all your lines and remember where you're supposed to be on screen, but you're doing all of that while throwing a ball up into the air and catching it every single time like it's nothing. Do you know how fucking hard that is?
To do it and not be distracted, yeah, that's it's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy.
Yes.
Doing that at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it and I'm probably going to screw it up in a second. All this to say, of course, Oscar Isaac's quite a good actor, Trent. This is your first real foray into beginning to end. This is what he can do.
The way he is delivering his lines here, I want to talk about one specific scene. And it goes back to what I said about this being a very Shakespearean kind of a script. It's right after Mia Goth goes to see the creature, I think for the second time. As she is coming out of there, it's right after the creature says her name. Victor is sitting on that bench right next to the door, and they have this little interaction going back and forth about just, I don't know, it's him saying, that creature in there, well, he says, he refers to it as an it, and they have this back and forth about, she says that it's got some intelligence, and she sees what he doesn't. And just all this dialogue going back and forth at a rapid pace, both of them extremely impressive.
Also, he's doing an accent because Oscar Isaac is not any kind of European. He is an American. And he's doing it with great intensity. He's very intense the whole movie.
Yeah,
He's always at a low simmer at least.
The only time I ever caught him, I guess you could say, not doing an accent is when he's yelling at the top of the structure when he's having the fight with Christoph Waltz. That's it. Otherwise, he's flawless.
Listen, maybe it's not a perfect accent, but as someone who is not a resident of anywhere that he's supposedly from, I couldn't tell you. It just sounded good to me. I think it also fits that it could be like a fake accent, basically, because he is such a big personality in this movie and he's putting on this show that if he's doing this big performative accent, I don't care.
Well, he also moved when he was a pretty young kid too.
Yeah,
so
he moves around.
maybe his accent would have been a little mixed. I don't know.
He's doing like
I'm not an accent person.
he's like in Vienna, but then he also speaks French, but his dad is English. There's a whole lot going on.
Yeah, it's fucking European. Me being very dismissive as an American of other people's accents. But
point being,
Oscar Isaac here, I wanted to see something from him, and I absolutely did.
I think he's very, very good in the movie.
Yeah. But as long as I already mentioned the name, Christoph Waltz is also here. As I described him in my notes, a syphilitic opportunist of somebody recognizing that, hey, this could be my way to live forever, I guess. He's dying, and he sees the opportunity to live forever.
He basically wants him to, after he dies, reanimate him. Was that what the point was? Or what does he want?
The argument that he's having here, once he figures out what's happening, is you got all these parts. You're going to be able to reanimate all this dead flesh. I want you to put me into that body.
So I can live forever in a way.
Essentially, I want my brain in that new creature.
But he explains to him, your brain is fucked.
Yeah.
That's literally what syphilis does.
All of your organs are completely fucked, man. You're going to be dead in 2 weeks anyway.
So I'm not wasting my beautiful creation on your syphilitic rotten ass.
Yeah. But as like a storytelling element here, I did not really like how he just happened to come into that hearing. Why would they let him in there in the first place? I do not know.
With his fancy gold-plated boots.
Yeah, what was that about?
It's, again, to make you notice him. It's the things that people do to get attention.
Okay, fine. But it's a very convenient thing that he just happens to be the uncle of the person that his brother is marrying, and he is sent there with a letter, and it just so happens that blah, blah, blah.
He got set up, Trent. He literally says, I know your brother. I wanted an introduction. He already knows him by reputation, and he says, I asked to be sent here.
Okay.
I am here on an official capacity on behalf of your brother, but I also, since I'm here,
ulterior
have a
motives.
second thing I kind of want to talk to you about. And then he gets to be the benefactor because, Trent, we have said it. We've said it many, many times. What happens if you are a well-funded scientist, Trent?
You're the bad guy.
You're the bad guy. And he is the one that introduces this concept. He says, I will give you whatever money that you need to make this project happen. And he says he wants to kind of be involved, but then sort of backs off and says, no, I might ask you for a favor someday, but I just want to appreciate your work and help you along.
Sure.
I believe in you, kid.
And it's not until basically the last minute that he doesn't even reveal it. He says, hey, can you hand me my cane? And Victor opens it up and he says it's mercury. Well, the only thing that apparently mercury is used for to treat is syphilis in this day.
He also sees him in the mirror, like his head's all fucked up. He's been wearing a wig.
Still.
So now he's got no choice but to tell him the truth. Like, this is what I want. This is my ulterior motive.
Yeah. And then he lets it out that, okay, I'll give you anything, just anything.
But of course, this is at the 11th hour. The storm is happening. They need their 121 gigawatts or whatever to reanimate this corpse.
Yes.
He's running around in the rain. He's climbing up spires. He's hooking these silver things up. And now is the time you ask me for this shit? Even if I could, even if I wanted to, now is not the right moment, sir.
Yeah.
And then he fucking falls down a hole, and that shit was graphic.
That was gross.
I kept saying, that's a hazard. That hole in the floor has got to be covered up, and no one ever listens to me because it's a room full of men in the 1800s.
It's Chekhov's hole.
Somebody had
to go down it. So that's Christoph Waltz. Mia Goth is kind of a minor character here. I think she does her job here.
Well, let's talk about Mia Goth because Mia Goth plays two characters.
Yes.
And obviously, I think what he is saying by casting her in both is kind of an Oedipal thing where he's sort of in love with his own mommy. Because at the beginning, he goes on in his story about how his mom was the greatest and I loved my mom and she and I were so alike.
It wasn't until his mother dies that he finally grows a pair and starts to talk back to his father because the father killed the mother.
Well, he blames his father because
in his mind, the dad killed his mom.
Yeah, he didn't do enough to save her.
Yeah.
And now I have an entire lifetime to try to make this right because I'm a little boy who has mommy issues. That's basically what this boils down to.
And he wants a way to cheat death.
Yeah, he has mommy issues and he has daddy issues. Trent, the rest of the movie, he wears a red scarf because his mom always wore red.
That's right.
And yeah, Mia Goth is made up and she only speaks French, so it'd be easy to miss if you didn't have this information. But one thing I did know was that she had dual roles. And I was trying to figure out, what the hell does that mean? Why does she have two roles? Who is she playing that she plays two different people? But then when you find out, oh, I see, she's playing his mother and also the woman he falls in love with. That's some psychology 101 bullshit.
It's a motherly thing. It is a creation thing. So I think that is also the relationship there. But as far as the actress is concerned, I really enjoy how she doesn't put up with any of his bullshit.
Which, of course, just makes him attracted to her.
Yeah, because nobody else does that. And I have never seen her in anything else. I think she does a fine job. Nothing to write home about.
But she is everything pure and good, as opposed to him who is negative and angry and all the stuff that he isn't, she is.
She is very refreshing in that she continues to have a reverence for life, whereas Victor has a reverence for death.
And that, of course, leaves us with the creature himself, Jacob Elordi, another actor I mentioned you have not seen in anything.
Nope.
The only thing recently that he got kind of known for was Saltburn. So I know he was in that movie. And as I said, he's got kind of a lot of stuff on the docket. But it makes so much sense immediately when Victor says, I'm looking for tall specimens because I'm going to work to scale. I'm going to work big. And this guy is 6'5".
Yeah.
Jacob Elordi is a very tall man. And when you see him in this movie next to Oscar Isaac or on the red carpet, he towers over this guy. And he towers over everybody else because he's just naturally so big.
And even the director here is accentuating it through some of the camera angles that they're doing here. When the creature cuts his hand for the first time and Victor is kind of kneeling down to tend to the wound and whatnot, there is a shot here from up above where it's basically looking from the creature's perspective down on Victor. And I think from a character's perspective, I think this is the moment where Victor is finally maybe a little afraid of this creature.
Like, how is your hand healing?
Yeah.
How the fuck does that work? But Jacob Elordi, what did you think of his performance?
Very surprising. I obviously had no expectations going into this when it comes to him because I've never heard of the guy, but there's such a tenderness in this monster of a man that I was just not expecting. And one of the other things that I read here is that, he had to do the majority of the actual work here, not only just because of the acting portion of it, but the makeup and all of the prosthetics and everything else that he had to deal with. He had to be in the chair for 10 hours a day. Sometimes he was working for a full 20 hours. But he said, I loved every minute of it. I didn't complain, and this is what Guillermo also said. He never complained that I'm hungry, I'm tired, I want to go home, can we be done now? No, he was fully locked in the entire time, and he said that this was the most comfortable he had ever been playing a role. And it comes through the screen 100%.
And it's such a delicate performance. Like when he is just discovering things, he is just so quiet. And he is doing a fully physical performance too. As I said, 6'5", that's a lot of frame. And when he is down on the ground and he has got his knees up to his shoulders and he's just kind of observing a leaf floating down the water.
He's kind of doing a Gollum thing.
A little bit. Or when he's starting to walk or pick things up, the way that he is aware of every inch of him down to his fingertips, the way he is holding things, and you can see the tiny twitches of his fingers as he picks things up and drops them because he doesn't have full control over his body. This is a guy who has thought about, okay, I'm pieced together and little quirks are going to happen.
Yeah.
It's all strange nerve damage. You know, he can do it, but it doesn't quite work exactly the way it would for you and me. And when he is born, when he appears in Victor's bedroom, standing at the foot of his bed, and he's just sort of mimicking everything that Victor is showing him how to do. And then there's that moment where he's like, the sun, and he turns away. No, the sun is good. Open yourself to the sun. And the two of them are just standing there, feeling the warmth of the light.
Yeah, it's a really great visual. And I think you're right. It is very physical acting in that it is very subtle, except when he's like tearing people's jaws off and tearing the flesh from a wolf and all of these other very, very violent things that are happening suddenly in the movie.
But that all comes later. At the beginning,
yes,
he doesn't say a word except Victor. And he has so many different ways of saying that word, but it means different things.
Yeah, you know what he's saying by just saying it in a different intonation.
Otherwise, it's a silent performance. It's all about looking with his eyes and reacting to different circumstances.
But you also have to remember, this is Victor's part of the story. Victor's the one telling this, and he's the one saying he only ever says Victor, 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 Victor. It's possible, at least in my mind, seeing this story played out in front of me for the first time, it's possible that the creature was saying other words, but Victor was ignoring it the entire time.
Victor is an unreliable narrator in this situation. He literally says at the beginning, it's all true. Not all of it, but it is true.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. That is an interesting interpretation that maybe he has the capacity, but Victor just has his blinders on. He's like, nope, I'm tired of this. I don't like it. I didn't get my way, so I'm just going to burn my house to the ground.
Then we move over to the creature's story, and he goes to this family. He learns everything from them. He becomes very, very articulate very, very quickly.
The creatures around him just love him, and he makes friends with this old man who fucking knows he's there. I love that the blind guy knows immediately. He clocks there's another presence in the room. And when he is teaching his granddaughter to read, he's holding the cards up so that they're visible to the person behind him.
Yeah.
And they are teaching him along the way, even if it's at a distance. And the moment he has an opportunity, when everybody else leaves and he knows this man is blind, he can present himself. And he says, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do or how I was going to say this or what was going to happen. And he embraces him and says, I'm lonely. I'm by myself. I'm blind, but I welcome you and I accept you. And I would love for you to be my friend and companion.
Yeah. And we have this sequence here of him reading for the first time, talking about the Bible stories and the characters in the Bible.
And he understands them.
And understanding them and relating them to his own life and his own existence. But obviously the thing that I think got to me, as it probably did you, is at the very end when the wolves attack and while he's away discovering the burned down building, he comes back to find the wolves and he tries to defend his friend. And the old man calls him his friend. And that I fully believe is the first time he is really, really feeling the feelings that a regular person would be feeling in that moment. I was not expecting to have the kind of emotional reaction that I did. I didn't cry, but I got close.
Okay, Trent, I didn't cry there, but I was emotional. And then when he gets fucking stabbed and shot and left for dead, and then he wakes up and he says that fucking thing about, at last I was at peace, but then fucking life came back for me.
Merciless life.
Merciless life.
Yeah.
In that moment, he just wants to die because everyone around him is dying. That old man was somebody who cared about him and he died and he can't do it himself.
Yeah.
And that's fucking tormenting. And he already feels like a piece of shit because he's figured out what he is. And now he's got to go find his creator. And at the end of the movie, when we get his whole perspective, he forgives Victor. He actually listens to what the old man said. He told him, forgiving is one of the hardest things we have to do, but it's what makes us human.
Yeah.
And Victor genuinely says, I am full of regret and I am sorry. And the creature says, I forgive you. I had a fucking single tear rolling down my face during this scene where the two of them finally just have it out and resolve it. and then Victor's just gonna fucking die, and the creature is left alone. It's a moving story, and that's the whole point of this is he's not a monster. He didn't ask to be like this. You created him, you abandoned him, you made assumptions about him, and now he is left cursed to wander the world for the rest of eternity because he can't die.
He's looking for understanding from his creator. And if that isn't the most human thing possible, I don't know what is.
And all the other humans around him are just attacking him and afraid of him, and nobody has any patience or understanding for this guy. That fucking sucks, Trent. It fucking sucks. But his performance is so thorough and so good. And there's a lot of people that are like, if he does not get nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this movie,
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
He definitely needs to be in consideration when awards season comes around because it is such a full performance. All right, so we've talked about the actors. Let's talk about some of the technical parts of this. We've alluded to it, but this is mostly done practically. Like when they're on a fucking ship out in the ice, to some extent, that's a real set.
Yeah, it's a real set, but obviously the background, they're not really on a boat. It is a boat of some kind, but they're not in the fucking water.
Wait, you mean to tell me Jacob Elordi did not push that boat through the ice with his man strength?
I'm sorry, Betsy, no.
But yeah, there's a scale to this movie that's really grand and fabulous. Like his lab, that building that they're using, has all these giant like sculptures carved into the stone, like these faces and flowers. And it's all just excessively big for no real reason.
And I would even go back to not just his lab here that they construct, but his office where that flayed body is laying there. There's just so much in that room that I would just love to go back to and freeze frame and just look at everything on there, because I know Guillermo del Toro is a production designer first and a director second, in my opinion anyway. He constructs his movies, or at the very least, he knows how to communicate to his production designers what he wants.
He's got the best people working for him, and they come through for him. We went on and on about the production design of Nightmare Alley, and I gotta say, this is also exquisite. Like, every scene, there's so many details. Like when he is meeting Christoph Waltz, he lives across the street from a butcher and the streets are filled with blood.
Yeah.
It's a sick detail, but it is accurate.
Yeah.
Or just the different carriages or the coffins, like the funeral coffins.
The movie is visually affecting. I wanted to pause so many different times to just look at, there wasn't even like a landscape shot. Of course, there was a landscape shot there where he is in basically the North Pole and you can see the sun coming up or going down and the creature off in the distance. Oh my God. But even some of the establishing shots early on when they do the first flashback and it's outside and the father's coming home for the first time, you see the grounds of this building and all the trees and the sky. The nature shots in this movie are some of the best I've ever seen in a movie.
There is a scope, a grandeur to what he is doing in his version of Frankenstein.
I mean, even going back to that same era where Charles Dance, of course, being the father of these two boys. God, I love that man's voice. Speaking of voices, it's not only him, but it's the, the judge during that hearing. It's the guy also from Game of Thrones.
Who was in The Witch a few
weeks ago that we covered. Another great voice. I love a British man having a voice like that. It just burrows inside of me. It's weird. I wish that's the thing. I'm jealous. I want to have a voice like that.
You want them to recite you poems or something.
Whatever. Read the fucking phone book. I don't care. But like, as far as other visual moments here, I was hooked on this movie immediately when the creature is coming out of the darkness and the little tiny flame embers are coming off of his coat, his body, his everything. You as the audience member don't know what just happened, but he blew himself up with a stick of dynamite and he's still kind of on fire. But all of the little bitty bits of embers coming off of his body as he's walking towards the boat And then you also see everybody's holding their torches and all the sparks coming off of those. Maybe it's just because this was shot really, really well and we have a nice TV and it looks really cool, but good Lord, did I love seeing all that stuff.
Trent, I am so jealous of the people that got to see this in the theater. It actually was playing in our town at a movie theater here for a couple showings, and we couldn't go. It was during a wedding that we were attending, and I'm just like, how rude would it be to just leave and go to see Frankenstein?
Quite.
Considering I was the officiant at the wedding, it seemed
actually,
like a bad idea.
Yeah, you were the one who were marrying the couple.
But I so badly wanted to see this on the big screen, and now having watched it, I'm even more jealous because it would have looked insane.
I mean, it looked insane in our basement, Betsy. It's still pretty damn good.
But let's talk about more of the technical things. I want to talk about the costumes. Because again, it's just tied into the aesthetic of what we're doing here, and everything has a story. There's a lot of really intentional use of color. The color red is very prominent.
Yep.
That establishing shot you were just talking about when he is a boy and we're at their house, his mother is there all in red with this like 40-foot fucking red veil blowing in the wind.
Incredible. I love that.
And where she is in red, a lot of the times the rest of the movie, Mia Goth is in red or green or blue. It's always something very striking against the rest of the backdrop. And I wrote down a few because I was just like, oh, I loved that. Near the beginning, when his mom dies and they're having the funeral, they have this sea of funeral mourners. So they've got these guys in these tall stovepipe hats with feathers on the top. They've got these women in these big bonnets with feathers on the top. There's some of them in like all white. That whole group was extremely striking. When he's pretending to be the priest and then she figures out it's him, and then the next scene they go to dinner, the green dress that she is wearing has this pattern on it that was just very, again, striking. And she's wearing this bright green with a red crucifix, a red necklace. And the two are very like Christmas color green and red. So it's very like popping off the screen. Pairing with him in that fucking striped suit. Oh, chef's kiss. When she goes to visit him to bring the butterfly, she's wearing this black dress with red floral print. Loved. When they're going to see him and she meets the creature, that shot of her in the carriage with the green veil, it's kind of a teal veil against her bright green dress. Here's the thing I kept thinking about, Trent. She, in the movie, her character loves insects.
Yes.
Her clothes are like insect clothing. She's basically got all these patterns that don't make any sense for the time period. The colors are very bright and reflective.
And that one piece of headgear that we see her in early on.
The feathers that kind of frame her face.
Are those feathers?
Yeah, I think it's like green feathers, blue feathers.
Whatever it is, it looks like, it does kind of look like what would be coming off of like
an
a beetle.
antenna or something. Yeah, I think there's an intentional choice. We're going bug. We're going bugs here.
I never really thought about that, but I think you're right.
After like the third dress where she has these like really circular patterns on her dress that don't really fit the time period, I was like, why is that? And it's because I think we're going bug. It's very shiny. It's green. That's what beetles look like. And then there's other details like when the creature wakes up and he's out in the forest and there's this battle scene that had happened. There's all these corpses lying around and have been there for so long that they're just bones. There is a jacket on one of them and he takes the jacket, and if you look at his back, it maintains the shape of the spinal column because this had been sitting on a corpse for so long that it molded to the shape of the bones. And so when he's walking around, it's still on his back.
Yeah, that's maybe one of the best details I think is in the entirety of the movie.
And then just the tiny touch that he has that one reflective red eye. It's sort of a costuming thing. It's more of the makeup, but it's just when the light hits it in the right way and it's reflecting red. Oh, there's just tiny little things like that that I loved looking at this movie. All right, the last thing I want to talk about structurally is the score, because there was the scene, Trent, where he is literally putting this body together, and it was the most Danny Elfman, Tim Burton, waltz, gothic kind of music of anything in the entire movie. It was Alexandra Desplat doing Danny Elfman doing Tim Burton.
It's very much a Tim Burton kind of a movie. It's this scene where he is cutting off flesh and he is sawing bones and sawing feet off. It's that whole scene is very, very jaunty. That doesn't quite fit the scene, but it absolutely fits the guy making the movie.
I have to think that this is like a little wink to Tim Burton. Because,
I don't know about that.
Well, it is so spot on, Trent, and nothing else in the movie sounds like this part of the movie. That's the only reason.
There's a couple of moments here where there is this kind of jaunty music happening.
This
it's
like
different.
Waltzing music, yes.
Yes.
But this scene in particular is so specific to what I'm talking about.
It's very striking. You're right. But before we kind of get into the Oscar stuff, I only had one more thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know, it's just where my mind goes sometimes, and I know Guillermo del Toro has these conversations with his production people and producers and whatever else. I fully believe that there was a conversation as to whether or not we were going to see the creature's dick. Because when he's strapped on that gurney and he's being brought up in order to be zapped by the lightning, perfect opportunity to just have the fleshy bits hanging off of him. Why did he have to be covered up? I'm not mad about it, but
it would have been too much. Would have been too much.
It might have been, but I have seen The Shape of Water.
But that was on the inside.
I realize
they describe it. It's not out all the time.
I realize that, but I know that they had the conversation. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. I was thinking we were going to see Oscar Isaac's dick because we got very close to seeing it in this movie.
All right. That's all I really had to say, Betsy. There's a million other things we could talk about here, but that is my reaction. Other than the fact that I don't know how the fuck they do some of these mirror shots where you should be seeing the camera and the person behind the camera, you don't see shit.
Exquisite skill and maybe a little CGI. Maybe.
Yeah.
But knowing Guillermo, he'll probably find a way to do it without the CGI.
Yeah, camera tricks.
But all right, we've reached the point of our conversation that before we wrap this up, we have to talk about Oscars. Now, Frankenstein is not one that has been trending consistently in we think it's going to get nominated for Best Picture. It's in the conversation, but it's not on the I am definitely putting this on the list.
The lists that I have been seeing, vast majority of them have Frankenstein in the top 10.
It's moving that way now.
It is.
And part of that, I think, is, as I touched on earlier, the Academy is in love with Guillermo del Toro because they so respect what he does as a filmmaker.
Yes.
The last two movies he did got nominated for Best Picture. One of them won.
I'll do you one better. He also made that Pinocchio movie, and it won
one.
Best Feature. And he was all about, hey guys, just because it's an animated quote unquote movie doesn't mean it's not a film. You Academy folks need to be considering more of this animated shit for Best Picture.
Another one that is on our watch list because we haven't seen Pinocchio yet either.
No.
But that all to say, I think this is probably going to get lots and lots of technical nominations.
Just technical, though?
Certainly technical, but as I touched on, Jacob Elordi is somebody that people would really, really, really like to see be nominated.
Let's go down the list. Do you think that this is going to be nominated for Best Picture? I do.
I feel stronger about it now that I've actually seen the movie.
Think about this, though. What other movie has Netflix got this year that would be up for Best Picture?
There's another one that we haven't talked about. It's Jay Kelly, but I don't know. It's a very different kind of movie. This is much more of a production kind of movie where we could get production design, score, adapted screenplay, direction, costumes, makeup. My God, if this movie does not get nominated for makeup, there is something wrong with the voting academy.
Yeah. My point to that is usually studios like a Netflix will only get behind one of their movies, especially if it's for Best Picture, because that's the golden goose right there.
I think if you have Guillermo in your corner, you're probably going to put your chips in that corner.
Yeah. But you mentioned all of the technical stuff, and I don't have any argument against that. What about the actors? If they're going to push for any of these actors to be lead, who is it going to be? Or Do you push both of them as lead?
I don't think Oscar Isaac should be the one they're pushing. I think he's good, but I don't think he has a chance of winning. I don't think this is an Academy Award winning kind of performance. I was much more impressed with Jacob Elordi. And I think people are saying he should be supporting, and I think that fits. That actually tracks for me because he does not have nearly as much screen time. He's not actually in the movie until halfway through.
More than halfway through.
Listen, I know there's a lot of fast and loose rules about
I know that.
lead and supporting, but I think this is truly a supporting performance, and it is a beautiful one, and I really would love to see him be nominated.
That's where I think the rules about lead and supporting, I think, need to be more defined within the Academy. Because like you said, the creature is only on screen in earnest for about an hour of the movie. This movie is about 2.5 hours long. Does that then completely take it out of being a lead performance? I don't actually agree with that.
You think this could be a lead performance?
I do.
Just because it's so fast and loose the way they argue it?
Well, it's also the way the movie is structured. Yes, we start the movie with Oscar Isaac and all of his stuff, but when they do the flashback at the beginning of the movie, he's not on screen for that either.
And because we're getting it on two completely different perspectives, and this is the way the book is written, you get it from Victor's take, you get his version of the events, and then the creature's like, oh, he told you his story, did he? Well, let me tell you mine.
Yeah. And again, we have talked at length about the way the Academy kind of divides everything up, but it's really the studios. They push their actors in their movies towards the categories that they think that they can win. And for a supporting actor, usually the more screen time that you have, the more likely you are to win that award for supporting. And it's less likely that you're going to win it for lead.
I think lead actor is a harder category to win, though, which is
You're
why
right.
I'm saying Jacob Elordi is probably going to be pushed in supporting.
I agree with you. I also think that he's got a really good chance to win. Same as last year when we talked about fucking Honora. That guy was in that movie quite a bit.
And sadly, it was the one Academy Award that movie didn't win that it got nominated for.
But the conversation was, wow, that guy is really, really good for a relative nobody.
And as far as any other Academy Award nominations, it's the ones that I'm like, I don't really know how those work. Like sound, maybe sound.
I don't know.
It's such a niche one for
sound,
me.
The sound ones usually, as I've said, the sound ones usually go towards like war movies or sci-fi movies when there's a lot of guns going off.
Trent, there's a lot of squidgy sounds in this movie. There's a lot of explosions and lightning and rain and, you know, ripping the flesh off of a wolf with your bare hands.
Oh.
Yeah, that was something someone had to design.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned all of the very violent and visceral things that happen to not only dead bodies, but alive bodies as well. From the fact that Victor is harvesting all these parts from these dead bodies to the creature throwing them about and having them break in half and him tearing the flesh off of a wolf and all sorts of different gnarly shit that happens in this fucking movie. It just made me squirm a few times.
There was a lot of this movie I was sitting mouth agape for varying degrees of either that or it was just so cool that my mouth was agape.
Yeah, that was more than half of the movie for me. I was amazed.
I think that just kind of sums it up. Like, what we were watching was spectacle in the best use of the word.
Yes.
And it wasn't over the top spectacle. You could argue, well, why did we need to include that gnarly shit with the wolves? Because we are demonstrating how strong he is and what a violent reaction he has. And he even tells Victor, you didn't want to play nice, so now I'm going to revel in my fucking vengeance or whatever he says.
He says, if you will not award me love, then I will indulge in rage.
And that is definitely depicted on the screen. And the way they kind of frame it at the beginning as that is how we're introduced to this character, then we get the actual point of view from him. And all of a sudden you go back and go, oh, something else was actually happening here. We didn't have to have this. We didn't have to have it be like this, sir. But you created him and then he got fucked. And he's not happy about it. And I think that's okay. And the fact that Victor is the one chasing him. When he is in the ice caps, he is the one being pursued. Victor is pursuing him to destroy him.
Yes.
Not the other way around, even though that's how the movie starts. It's really, really well constructed.
Victor is playing the victim here, and as the audience is observing, well, maybe he is. Maybe he is the victim here, and the big bad wolf is coming after him. But no, he's the wolf. And that's Frankenstein.
Yeah, that was a good movie, Trent. That was a really good movie.
Yeah. I think if I have one more thing to say, it's that anybody coming to see this movie should be convinced it isn't just the same Frankenstein story that you've seen told over and over and over again. This is a unique story, a unique perspective, with people who are treating the source material with respect and admiration. Guillermo del Toro says that Frankenstein is one of his favorite stories ever, and it shows.
And he's doing it with tremendous style, which, I so appreciated.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're going to have to leave it, because we could probably talk a lot more about this movie, but it would just be us regurgitating every tiny detail that we enjoyed about it, which we've already done at length. So we're going to stop. But we'd love to hear from you. Did you love Frankenstein? We want to gush with you. Send us an email, neverseenapod@gmail.com. We got an email from our friend Mitch in Saskatoon, who we haven't heard from in a while, but he went to Wicked for Good on opening weekends. So this email is actually titled Wicked for Good, read after you watch, because he sent it to us before we had seen the movie.
Right. We saw it on opening weekend too, but we waited to read this email until after we actually saw the movie.
So that being said, in case there are any spoilery things about Wicked for Good in here, maybe skip ahead and don't listen to this email, because I think he touches on a couple of those things in here.
Yeah, just skip ahead and get to the end of the episode and you can hear what we're doing next.
He begins, "We made it to an opener in my family. It was an added showing, not originally planned, so only a handful of people were in the theater for a weekday afternoon. I love those kinds of shows."
That's odd. I wonder if your theater is very much a locally owned and operated theater, because a chain of theaters usually would never do that.
They don't just add them at the last minute, certainly.
Yeah, they are basically dictated to when your showings are going to be, how many showings there are going to be, and yeah.
One thing that people will probably forget is that this is the second part of a 2-act musical. And because the first part is so light and funny and airy, they will probably go into this movie expecting the same. One has to remember that this is in the Wizard of Oz universe, and that one of the characters is literally the Wicked Witch of the East, so clearly some dark stuff is going to happen. Having said that, we enjoyed many of the elements of this film, including a lot of the camera movements, most notably the girl in the bubble song. We didn't even talk about this in the episode, Trent. The way that they managed to, be in the mirror, and then all of a sudden the perspective is from the other side of the mirror, and I just kept going, how the hell did they do that?
Well, they did it in CG. It was a green screen. It wasn't actually a mirror, and that's just how they did it.
But it's so flawlessly done that my brain kind of did a double take.
Yeah, it's done very, very well, which is why your brain does that.
So I'm glad he mentioned that, because I totally forgot to talk about that when we did the episode.
Yeah.
He continues, "The story itself is clever, intertwining the original Wizard of Oz with the backstory of those characters from Wicked, although the timeline seems rushed once you've seen the movie. Most importantly, though, they make it make sense. Now all of the lines from the first movie make sense. Quote, 'Life is painless when you're brainless,' anyone?"
Yeah, and me not knowing what these characters are going to become, obviously, hey, yes, we are talking about spoilers here. Fiyero being the scarecrow in the end did not even cross my mind when we were watching the first Wicked, which is why maybe the reaction I had to the part 2 is that, oh man, this just really seems like it's kind of shoehorned in here and isn't really earned. But I have to remember that this is one contiguous story on stage, and it maybe makes more sense on stage. I don't know.
Well, Trent, the show is touring near us next summer. I will just keep telling you that until maybe you decide to take your wife to a performance. But back to Mitch. He says, "I wish Jeff Goldblum was more of a singer to maintain the feel of the Broadway version of his song, but he is a talented musician. Their CGI of the younger Jeff Goldblum left something to be desired. A lot more CGI in this one overall anyways, but it rarely detracted."
Yeah. I get the same kind of reaction anytime there is a de-aged actor on screen. It's always going to be an uncanny valley thing. no matter what, because I know that that is not a real person.
It also just didn't really look like Jeff Goldblum.
It really didn't.
If you're going to do it, or just get a completely different actor.
It's different because we've seen Jeff Goldblum younger when he's in a movie, so it's never going to look natural.
His email continues, I think this movie definitely had a challenge to adapt to the screen, which is probably why it took over 20 years to do it. I would argue, though, that they basically nailed it. Chu did well and provided a great story with stunning shots and tremendous vocals. We give this film 9 8/10 bottles of maple syrup. Also had a chance to catch The Naked Gun recently, which you guys did not cover for the podcast, but I know why. How can you cover a comedy without just giving away half of the jokes? Honestly, thank you for not covering it. It kept the spirit of the originals to keep my interest and is now probably my number 1 or 2 favorite Liam Neeson movie. Can't decide where it fits with Cold Pursuit. Hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Mitch, the one from Saskatoon.
Oh, that Mitch. Oh, thank you, superfan Mitch from Saskatoon. And you're right, we did go and see that Naked Gun movie when it was in the theater. And yeah, we've said it many times, we don't really do a whole lot of comedies, especially brand new comedies on this show. Mainly because it's just kind of hard to analyze a movie the way we like to analyze movies. We do it when there's something to really say.
The Naked Gun, however, is basically a parody of a parody, so it's kind of hard to...
All we would do is just regurgitate the jokes. That's all we ever do in comedy episodes.
Unless they're very, very high concept or there's a good cast. There's some reason to elaborate.
Earlier this year, we did that Dewey Cox movie, which we absolutely loved. But there's something to talk about there. There's music involved. There's a lot more in that movie.
It's also what that movie has become since it came out 20 years ago. Like, it's making fun of something that existed in 2007, but now it is also the template of what those movies are. So watching it now versus 20 years ago, it's even funnier.
Especially watching it literally right after we did that Bob Dylan movie biopic. But just to reiterate, we're never really going to do a whole lot of comedy episodes for this podcast. We'll do them where it makes sense. But yeah, I agree with you, Mitch. It's better that you just watch the movie and enjoy yourselves and not really analyze a comedy.
Don't think too hard about The Naked Gun.
No, just go and watch it. It was great.
But thank you again, Mitch, for that email. We look forward to any time you send us one. So I hope that you're catching up on some of these other movies as we're catching up on them from 2025. But if you'd like to be like Mitch, that email again, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. If you like more content and more episodes that you can send us emails about, you can go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod, where we've got lots of additional shows that we put out every single month, covering everything from comedies to horror movies to romances. We do a lot of different kinds of movies on Patreon.
And not only movies, we have an entire show where Betsy and I are just talking to each other about a topic.
So that's where we're going to end this episode, but we do still have a few more episodes from 2025 before the year is out. What will we be covering next week, Trent?
Well, Betsy, we've only got 2 more weeks before our year-end award show. And if you've been paying attention to our Patreon, you'll know that we have covered the first 2 28 movies. That was 28 days later, 28 weeks later. Next week, we will finish the trilogy with 28 years later.
Squeezing in one more horror movie before 2025 is over. But until that episode, my name is Betsy.
My name's Trent.
And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.